Bună și bine ați venit la podcastul Prima Dată. Sunt Raluca Hagiu și sunt jurnalist, iar astăzi am lângă mine un invitat foarte special cu o experiență remarcabilă, cu 40 de ani de experiență ca psihoterapeut. Este, cum spuneam, psihoterapeut, formator și facilitator de constelații sistemice. Din 2019 este formator de constelații sistemice și în România, pentru că înainte era și în Germania și Franța. Iar astăzi vom vorbi despre ce înseamnă constelațiile sistemice. Astăzi este alături de noi Claus Kostka. Hi Klaus, willkommen.
Oh, you learned German.
Meanwhile, just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm very happy to have you here at my podcast, Prima Dată, the first time podcast.
Yes.
I'm really honored to have you here. I do appreciate you a lot. You are a very experienced and gifted therapist. You have 40 years experience now, almost 40 years, yeah, right? And I was wondering, what made you choose the path of psychotherapy at a time when it wasn't widely known or it wasn't widely accepted and known? Yeah, let's say that.
It is with like this with a lot of other things too. I never wanted to become a therapist. I never looked to be a therapist. I did therapy for my own because some things were really not working in my life when I was younger. And that was during the time when I studied therapy of arts. I did a lot of therapy on the side. And I was in a therapy group which I liked very much, which was actually conducted by two witches. And one day, one of the two ladies looked at me and said, you like being part of this group, yes? I said, yeah, very much. She said, okay. You want to go on being part of this group, yes? I said, yeah, sure. And then she said, okay. If you want to go on being part of this group, next time we met every month for 1 weekend. Next time when you come, you bring me a complete script for a weekend group. And when you come after this, you will present me that you made a group with at least 12 people. Otherwise, you don't need to come back. So, of course, that was not the very... I felt pretty afraid, to be honest. But I said, okay, I take the challenge. And at that time, I was still studying therapy of arts. And so I had a lot of colleagues who I could invite. Some came without money, some brought a cake, some brought 50 euros, whatever. And that was my first group. And, I would not have liked to be a participant in that group because I tried to put everything I ever learned into 1 weekend. So we started in the morning at 6 o'clock with a meditation, and we ended in the evening between 2 and 3 o'clock, and then next morning again at 6 o'clock. So that was really, I remember this little story. In the middle, I think it was Saturday evening, around 2 o'clock, I said, now we will do something very relaxing, a very nice meditation, which will guide you into sleep, but don't fall asleep. And when I woke up again, the whole group was sitting around me, smiling at me, So that was actually my first encounter with therapy.
And you have a lot of different other formations, like in art therapy, in systemic constellations, and I can hardly wait. We talk about this. You're a certified trainer with the German Association for Systemic Constellations, and you are leading trainings in Germany, France, and Romania, starting from 2019. How would you describe family constellations, and what does this therapeutic method involve?
Not long ago, people in the therapeutic community started to understand that it's not only the parents who influence a child, but it's also the whole system. So the theory is that we live in systems and every system has an impact on the individual. So if someone is dealing with, let's say, depression or anxiety disease or stuff like this, it does not necessarily mean that he has had a dysfunctional home, but this can be something that comes, that's like inherited from the past, from the grandparents, the great-grandparents. And seeing it more in a context of a whole system brings much more healing into the system, you know, because you're not looking at two relationships between the client and the parents, for example. You look at the whole system, and if something is wrong with the client, then in most cases something in the whole system is not working, and that is sometimes even long ago. I mean, we live in countries, you and me, we live in countries who had a lot to do with war, you know, and you live in a country who had a lot to do with a fascist dictator, you know, and this also has influenced families and has influenced whole systems until today, you know. And if you really want to get rid of some things which burden you from the past, then you really have to go all the way to the point where it started. And that's from my perspective, that's a very healthy approach. And it's also an approach which is sometimes a little spooky for people.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm sure you will ask something in this direction as well, so I will not be faster than the questions.
For sure. But before this, or maybe no, let's do this. Yeah, please tell me, how do you explain systemic constellations to the people that are truly skeptical about this? Because not being so like physical, dealing with physical things, people get scared or get skeptical, and for some of them, this sounds really awkward or weird.
Yeah, first of all, an explanation never takes away the skepticism. It's like if you're in the front of a menu and there is squid on the menu and you don't know what squid is and I explain it to you, it will not take your skepticism. You have to try it yourself. And then you go like, that's not exactly what I like to eat, or it's like, oh, that's great. So I can, I have in my workshops oftentimes people who are skeptic. And I invite them to be skeptic because I'm not someone who declares the new truth, right? So sometimes it's really necessary that you keep your skepticism and only go with the method when you really feel a resonance. You know? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we start, when we do a constellation workshop, we start Friday evenings and we have a Saturday and a Sunday. And sometimes people come very skeptical on Friday evening. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I do not try to convince them. I tell them, please keep your skepticism. It's fine with me because I'm completely sure about what I'm doing. I've probably led about 5,000 constellations until now, internationally.
Wow, 5,000 constellations.
That's approximative.
Amazing.
So I know of the healing power of this method, and it's so far.
5,000 constellations. I have goosebumps. I knew you had a lot of experience, but I never thought about it in
I
this
do it
kind
since
of terms.
25 years.
Yeah, wow, 25 years. And how did it start for you?
You know, I've been a therapist before. I worked a lot in the field of primal therapy. I worked a lot with breath and breathing and body-oriented psychotherapy. And I had a good friend who unfortunately died of brain cancer a couple of years ago. And he was one of the first therapists being trained by Hellinger himself. And he kept inviting me. And I didn't want to go, to be honest.
You were skeptical as well at the beginning?
Yeah, it was like, come on, don't give me another method. Don't give me another fantastic thing you have to do and then your life will change forever, you know, because you hear this all the time. Go to this therapist, go to that a shaman, you know, you have to take ayahuasca. You should do this, that, you know. But one day I ran out of excuses. So I said, okay, I can go. And from the first moment when I sat down, I was really fascinated about what I was seeing, what I was experiencing, because I think I already looked a little different at people, like with my professional eye. And also when I did my own constellation, I was completely floored. It was like, wow. It took me half a year to digest, because some people are very fast in digesting and some people are very slow, and that's not a problem. You just need to know and to accept it, you know. And that was the beginning. And then after this weekend, I went to him and said, Dietrich, I really want you to train me. He said, I knew that. Great. So he trained me.
So actually, what did convince you? Because you said you were skeptical a little bit as well at the beginning.
I could see right away changes happening in the way how people had a body posture and how people had a facial expression, you know. Sometimes people have a very frozen expression. They don't even move their face when they say something. And in the process of this constellation work, they completely soften up. The face looks completely different. You know, that was something Dietrich told me. I even heard the story of someone who changed so much that she came home at night, and her mother was sitting in the living room, and first she said, "Who are you?" And then she said, "Mom, don't you know who I am?" And then, oh, you're my daughter. So she looked so different. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come to that as well, because I would be really curious to find out some of your stories from these 5,000 constellations you've had. Maybe to tell us a little bit more about some of them that really impacted you, that when you really saw the change, as you explained already.
Yes.
How would you describe the dynamics of a group in a constellation session? Let's say for a 20, 30, 40 years old that never went to this kind of a therapy group.
Can you tell me what you mean with dynamic?
What's going on in a constellation? I know because I'm in the training group, but I was thinking to tell this to other people that ask me, for example, I get this question a lot. So what exactly happens there?
What do they do?
What do they do? This seems a little bit weird. You all stay in this circle, and what do you do? What's going on there?
Okay, so it's like we meet in a group, as you said, and then I go through a weekend with you, right? And then Friday evening I do an introductory talk, explaining people a little bit about what the process is about, and about the generational inheritance and stuff like this. And then we'll have a little break, and then we do one constellation right away. And this goes on for the whole Saturday and the whole Sunday. It's like that. I always have an empty chair beside me. We call it jokingly the hot chair. It's not really hot, but sometimes when you come to this chair, as you well know, you feel a little hottened. And then I never ask people to come to that chair. Everybody decides for himself, because the person who works is also the most important person. I'm not important, I'm just presenting something. But the one who is the client for this hour or 1 hour and a half is the top number one. So someone comes, he or she sits at my side, and then I ask, first of all, I ask the name, because I have the bad habit to not be very good with names. And even if people have presented themselves in the circle on Friday evening, I tend to forget. And then I ask the person, why did you come, or what did you come for? Or sometimes I ask, what's your heart's desire? And sometimes people have a very clear objective. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they say, well, I don't know why I'm here. I just had the impression I need to come. When that is the case, we find out together what they came for. And let's say the way I work with constellations is I try to do them as reduced as possible, meaning I'm not a fan of having 10, 12, 15 people on stage, right? Because that gets confusing, irritating, and that's too much for the soul to understand. So let's say there is this lady and she says, that's an example I often use on Friday evenings, and she says, you know, I have been at the gynecologist, and she said I have a knot in my right breast. I'm not afraid for myself. I'm not afraid of cancer. But I have 2 daughters, and I know that my grandma died of cancer, and my ma died of cancer. And my great-grandma also died of unknown circumstances. Nobody knows. Maybe she had also cancer. I don't know. And I really want to make sure that nothing is like passed on to my daughters. That if I have cancer, that I'll be the last one who has it. That's a very clear and straight on and powerful objective. Next thing I do is I ask for some biographical details out of the life of her mother, her grandmother. And sometimes people don't know a lot, but that's not a big problem, because the amazing thing about constellation is that the representatives, I'm going to talk about in a minute, that the representatives pick up on the energy of the person so clearly and so unmistakably that sometimes it feels like, where the heck am I, you know, like. Then in this case, I would ask the lady, okay, I would propose we do a constellation with someone for you, your ma, your grandma, your great-grandpa, great-grandma, and maybe even your great-great-great-grandma. And then if she's okay with that, because she has to say yes or no, then I ask, okay, please get up and go through the circle, and intuitively you pick someone who represents this person. Sometimes people have a little difficulty because they think, oh my God, what should I do? I don't want to make a mistake, pick the wrong person, stuff. One of the things I learned about constellation is you cannot make a mistake. You just can't, because it's actually not your mental who is picking. It's much more on the feeling, on the soul level. Yeah, and oftentimes people afterwards said, I knew she would pick me as mother. I knew she would pick me as grandmother, stuff like this. So there's an instantaneous connection. So she goes around, picks this, I think it was 5, right? 5 women, and then she intuitively places them in the space and says, again, aloud, you represent my grandma, you represent my ma, and so on. And then she sits down. And that's actually all she needs to do. Of course, it can become pretty intense afterwards for her, because, she has put something in the external, in the exterior, that she was dealing with only internally before. And that can be pretty strong, pretty moving. And not only for her, but it's also moving for the other people who are in the group, They don't fall asleep, or they are not bored. It's more like if you have a guitar hanging on the wall and you sing a certain tune, the string of the guitar starts vibrating. So everything that happens in the middle also touches bits and pieces in other people, so other people get emotionally involved. And then I ask the representatives to take a moment to feel what's going on, and then if there is like an impulse to change a position, to move, they should just follow. Sometimes nothing happens, sometimes a little dance happens, and when that comes to an end, it's like 3 to 5 minutes. I start asking questions like, how is mom doing, or how is grandma doing? It's very important that you understand that everything you feel while you are representing is because you're representing. Because if you get into trouble, like, oh my God, is this me, or is this the person I'm representing? Is this me? Is this him, her, whatever? Then you get a little crazy. Yeah. And of course, you're picked for a reason. Oftentimes, the character you're picked for has a connection to your own life, to your own history.
Energy.
Yeah, to your own energy. Thank you. And then I start, and the answers are very, very different. One might say, I'm really scared. I don't know what's going on behind me. I cannot move. Someone else might say, my whole body feels like lead. I cannot change any position. Someone else might say, I'm bored. I want to go out for a coffee, whatever. And then we start working with this configuration. And working means I work with closeness and distance. I work with looking at each other or looking away from each other. Sometimes I ask people to repeat certain phrases which have a certain healing background, right? And so I go through the different generations and see what needs to be healed or needs to be looked at, needs to be acknowledged. And in the end, at least we have a new structure in which those 5 women can say, I'm okay here. And at best, everybody feels great. And then I ask the client, do you want to take your place? Sometimes they say, no, I saw enough. Yeah. And sometimes they say, yeah, sure. And maybe we have to go 1, 2, 3 steps back, that the whole person understands bodily the whole situation. And sometimes it's just enough to stand there. And it's also important to know that what the representatives are displaying is not always 100% right historically, right? But the energy is always 99.9 right. And that brought me to the point to even trust more what is displayed in the constellation than what the client tells me. Yeah, I had someone who got very upset, and he said, "No, that's not my family. That's bullshit. It never was like this." He was really upset, angry, but he didn't leave. That was nice. And like 3 or 4 days later, I received a little mail and said, "Well, I need to apologize. I just wasn't willing to look at the fact that was my family. That was exactly my family." Yeah. And what I find so amazing again and again is with the precision with which the representatives represent a person. Because sometimes it's also persons who are alive, and they never met the client, they never met the family of the client, but they are like incredibly straight on. That's amazing.
I usually get this question, and how do I know the representative says the right thing? Or maybe he or she heard my story in the interview, and that's why he manifested this way. People asking this question because they might think the representative gets really analytical or rational. And sometimes I don't know what to answer to this question.
Well, if the representative gets very analytical, then there is two possibilities. Number one is the person he is representing was a very analytical person. That's one thing.
Right.
And the other thing is that he or she probably doesn't want to really go into the whole thing. But that's part of my job. Part of my job to see and to feel it and to just ask something like, are you afraid to go a little deeper? And if the person says, yes, I am, I say, okay, that's not a problem. We can take you out and we can have someone replace you, because it's very, very good that you honor your limits. And but if you want to make a new experience, I'm here and it's safe here, so you can try. And in most cases, they take this extra step. Right?
It's really interesting what you said, that maybe sometimes it's not historically 100% true what you see in the constellation, but the energy is there 99.9%. Yes. Do you believe the field really is accurate? How would you describe the field, actually? That would be the question. I know it's a tough one.
You know, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a scholar. There's a lot of books out about it. It's more like probably I would say that we are all much more energetically connected, interconnected than we think. We always think we are so special. You, Raluca, you're so special, Raluca. Me, Klaus, I'm so special, Klaus. And Cosmin and whoever is so special. But in a certain way that's true, because we are unique. You are unique, I'm unique. On the other hand, we are just manifestations of the same energy, right? I like to have this image of a big tree with lots of branches and lots of leaves, and that's actually the family of humans. You know? And this energy is really available not only through constellation, it's also, I mean, there's people who practice Reiki or who practice spiritual healing. There are people who practice like healing on the distance, and it works. So we are much closer to that which surrounds us than we think. And for me, it's a illness of the modern society that we keep thinking that we are all like special and that we are nuclear. We are not.
True.
I don't know if that answered your question, but I have another image. It's like we are here on that level, you know, and there is the universal consciousness. And when we create a certain energy together, it's a little bit as if this field, this area, becomes accessible. You know, it's a little bit as if you have a little plug-in and you plug it in, and then there's a lot of information accessible.
What are the types of issues or challenges that can be addressed through a constellation?
Well, nearly everything. You know, it's like business things. I don't get along with my boss. Childhood things. You know, I had a very tough childhood, and whenever I'm in a relationship with a woman, I see my mother and I cannot honor her the way she deserves to be honored, and on and on and on, you know. Or constellations about children, you know. I have my child is very sick and no doctor can help, and I want to try this. I don't think that constellation is a solution to everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely not. But if it's not a complete solution to what you came for, it at least brings you much closer to the solution. Yeah, and a lot of things. I mean, I just received. That's an example. Mm-hmm. You want to know?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Please.
I had a constellation before I went into holidays in Angoulême, and there was a lady who said, "My dad has Alzheimer's. He does not recognize me anymore. It's very, very difficult for me." So, and now it really gets a little, you can believe it or not. We did a constellation with this fact, and I want to read you the if you allow me, I want to read you the mail I received when I was in holidays. No, I wasn't in my mails, I was on the wrong.
No worries.
So let's see. I was very, very moved by this, and it was also amazing sometimes the people who stand for someone, here it is, also make very deep experiences. I remember during my training, I once stood in for an SS officer who had killed countless people. And after the constellation, I asked my trainer, Dietrich, "Can I stay a little longer in this?" And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I need to understand." He said, "Okay." So I stayed like maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes longer. And this period taught me more about fascism and about how people relate to it and how people can fall into the pitfalls of fascism than any book I ever read. Right?
And you were a representative?
A representative, yes.
Oh, okay.
So the mail goes like this. "Hello, Klaus. I hope you are well and having a good holiday. Following the constellation I did at the end of May on the theme of my father's Alzheimer's, I would like to send you a video. My father recognized me well and kept a big smile the whole time. Since I went to the family constellations, the caregivers have noticed a change in cognitive level. He even spoke Polish again. My grandparents were both Polish. The magic of liberation worked. And above all, he said my first name at the end of the video. He no longer did that. Thank you again so much for the work you do. I hope to see you again." That was very, very, this is, for me, this is far from doubt, you know, because it's measurable. Mm-hmm. The caregivers say, since you came the last time, your dad changed. You know, he's much more alert. He sometimes speaks Polish. He didn't recognize her before. He didn't even know her name.
That's amazing. It's really amazing. I had good goosebumps while you were reading.
Me too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's amazing how you are still surprised, even though you know since 5,000 constellations. Thank you. You already know by heart it works, and it's still emotional and
absolutely
very fulfilling.
Yeah. And sometimes the stories I'm told are so heartbreaking that I need a little break, that I need to say, okay, that was really difficult for me to listen to. Please give me a moment, because I'm too emotional for the moment. I lost a little bit my center. I need to breathe for 1-2 minutes to come back to you, you know, because it's, in Zen, they have this expression of beginner's mind. which means try to be as fresh as possible with everything, as if you have never done it before. And that's something I also try to bring into the constellations, you know. And you never know what you never know what a therapeutic work at all does to people. You know, you can only do your best with your best intentions, with your best integrity, your best clarity, and the most training possible, right? But what in last consequence happens in the life of the person, it's not in your hands. Yeah, that's more something the soul of this person determines, right?
I do appreciate what you say in our trainings, that you are a partner with the person that comes there and tells you the story. You're not, as a facilitator, you're not the one that knows everything.
No.
And, you know, what can you tell us about this partnership? Let's say it's really important.
Well, number one is, I keep saying this on the Friday evening interviews, it's like, I'm not Harry Potter and I don't have a magic wand, you know? I'm not Miss Gonigal or whoever. It's like, we're just partners on the path. And I explored some things you may not have explored yourself. On the other hand, you have explored things I may not have explored myself. And the moment I think I know better, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm more trained, I'm the wise ass, that moment I lose you. Because there will be a part inside of you who turns away a little bit. Yeah? Because you do not, you cannot trust me anymore. You can only trust someone who walks beside you. I just read a wonderful book of a 103-year-old concentration camp survivor. And he said, he has a TED talk, I forgot his name. And he said in the beginning of the talk, he said, don't walk in front of me. I might not be able to follow you. Don't walk behind me, because then I cannot see you. Please walk at my side and be my friend. You know? And even if it's only for, 2 hours or a weekend, I consider myself much more to be a friend than something special, facilitator, whatever. Yeah? Of course, this has also very clear limits. I understand very well that there are boundaries I need to keep with clients, and that's totally fine. You know, during breaks, I sometimes sit somewhere and just stare and just relax a little bit. You know, I'm not always talking in communication and stuff. You know, but for me, it's very important that you allow me to be a little bit of a friend, a little bit of a caretaker, a caregiver, someone who has probably taken this road before you, and that you take whatever comes out of the whole interaction, like that.
What are the principles of the constellations, of the systemic constellations?
For me, one of the principles is absolute non-violence. You know, nobody is forced to do anything. Everybody has the time he or she needs, and everything is focused on healing and incorporating I'm a little shy to say this word because it's so widely used, you know, but incorporating love into one's life. Because no matter what we experience in our family of origin, there was a time when our parents were proud of us. There was a time when our parents looked at us with love. And even it was only the first couple of months, which we do not remember, of course. You know? So reconnecting to this origin we come from is a very important thing, because it also means we can stop fighting against all the things which have happened. And that means we can stop fighting against our partners, our children, whatever. It's more like a complete soothing of the whole energy. It's more like, okay, this is where I come from. Yes, it was painful. Yes, I experienced really difficult things. Yes. And at the same time, I developed out of this a certain strength. I found my niche to stay in. So what hurt me the most also gave me the strength to become who I am. And when I can heal now what hurt me the most, which will, by the way, never disappear, you know, that's an illusion. It's more like, after having worked on it, we can go like, yeah, that's my past. And some things were really painful, but that's my past, right? The emotional charge, which was connected to all the hardship, can disappear. That makes you much more present. That gives you much more possibility to act in your everyday life.
It's like an emotional dropping,
Absolutely,
as you said.
Absolutely.
And even if you are skeptical at the beginning, after all, psychologically, it's really helpful seeing, as you said, that your parents used to love you, and you give names to your emotions and
Yes.
things that, of course, you do in therapy as a therapist as well.
Yeah.
So, can we say it works at many levels?
It works at many levels, and actually, it's also a work for peace, because given the state of the world, you know well how it is. All the things which happen are done by people, and you can only do what is done in between Israel and Iran, or between Russia and Ukraine, or wherever. You can only do this if you do not have like really your own peace of mind. You know, as long as you're fighting against your own demons, you tend to put it outside and put it on someone else. You know, the Russians, the Ukrainians, the whatever, Iranians, whatever. You know, and it's more like, even if that sounds a little grandiose now, but I think that's a kind of work the world really needs to come to a more relaxed way of being with each other, because we only have this world and we are just one family of humans. That's it. You're Romanian and I'm German, but actually you're a human being, a woman, I'm a human being, a man. That's it. That's all what counts.
That's true. And in what ways is it different working in Romania, France, Germany, because you have trainings in all of these countries?
It's not so much of a difference. You know, really, it comes down to, I want to be seen, I want to be acknowledged, I want to be loved. I want to hear one time that my dad says, I'm proud of you. Stuff like this, you know. I had once I had someone who did no, that was not a constellation, that was in a breathing workshop. He had built up a really a big business. He made tons of money. He was sitting in the group, he was crying, and he said, you know, all I ever wanted was to be a carpenter. I wanted to build furniture, but my father had this company, and in order to satisfy him, in order that he loves me, I took the company and doubled its worth, and he never said one word. And then he said something that was really painful. He said, I wasted a little bit of my life. You know, like that.
Quite sad, yeah. What are other stories do you have that came to your mind?
Yeah, one story. It's it's a story I really like. There was someone coming to a constellation workshop, and she said, you know, I'm in the age where you normally don't flirt with pregnancy, but you know, I'm good looking, I have enough money, I have a good relationship, but I don't get pregnant. And if I get pregnant, then it's now the time. And I don't know anything about constellation. I just heard about it, and I thought I'd try it, and that's my last try. I tried a lot of things, and nothing worked. Okay, and I asked her about it. Just, I mean, sometimes questions just pop up. I don't know where they come from. I just asked her, "Did your mom have abortions?" And she said, "Yeah, she had a lot." I said, "What does this mean? 3, 4, 5?" She said, "No, 12."
Oh, wow.
I'm number 13. I'm the only girl who was allowed to live.
Goosebumps again. In the studio.
We were all like... And then I asked her, would you be willing to constellate that? And she said, yeah, sure. So she picked someone for mom. She picked 12 siblings for the unborn children. And she picked someone for herself. And for the next 1 hour and a half or 1 hour and 15, I don't remember, we went through a very moving process when every child reconnected to mom. Some were very angry. You know, I'm so angry I cannot live. Some were sad. I'm so sad. I would have loved to stay with you. Some were like no more really present. They were like, yeah, I know, but it doesn't really touch me. The amazing thing was that every child knew exactly which place he or she had, right? In the end, we had this long line, the mother, the 12 unborn children, and her. And when she looked over her siblings, she said something like, wow, it's the first time in my life that I feel I have a place. I'm no longer number 1, I'm number 13. And I have first time in my life the feeling that I start having roots. Yeah. And a month or 2 months later, I don't know, I received a mail, I'm pregnant.
Wow.
That was really great. But I tried this again with someone else and it didn't work.
So it depends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I just remember you, we also worked in our training groups with someone that didn't have like a good relationship with men during time, and you worked on the roots because there was the issue.
Yeah.
And it's hard to build up relationships, like healthy relationships, when you don't know where your roots are.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know, as long as you have not healed the relationship with your parents, for example, you are always very close to project your parents into your partners. And then it becomes really difficult, you know, because then you go into a child mode and you look at your partner like the dad or the mom, and that can only fail.
And you start punishing them.
Absolutely. And they punish back, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Some trauma survivors feel scared about engaging in systemic constellations, concerned that the process might re-traumatize them.
Yes.
So from your experience, is this a real risk, and how can it be addressed safely within the therapeutic setting?
That's an absolute risk. I've seen a few people who did not work with me, who worked with other constellators, who were really deeply re-traumatized. So let me utter a little warning. There is people who do 2-3 workshops and they think, oh, that looks so easy, I can do it myself. Please, if you go to someone who offers family constellation, make sure that this person has a solid and strong training, because you need to be trained. It's not like something you can do like this. It's like if you want to be a gardener, you have to do a 3 years apprenticeship. Although digging holes and putting plants in looks so easy. What was the question? Trauma. If you are a facilitator, you need to have the ability to see if someone comes close to a trauma or even falls into a trauma, right? And then you have to deal with that. And as far as I'm concerned, I cannot remember someone who I have sent home traumatized or re-traumatized, right? I also offer, if sometimes a constellation can be pretty moving, and I also offer the possibility to contact me afterwards if it gets too strong, or if someone gets scared, or something is not working in her life or his life any longer, which worked before. So we can look at it and probably do some adjustments. But that happens very rarely, that people call me or write me a mail or something like this. So I would say the way I work is more a trauma-sensitive approach. And it's my job to understand the needs of the client and to also understand how deep I can go, right? So if someone is like on the edge of falling into a trauma again, I would do just a little bit, And sometimes I even don't do constellation, Sometimes it's like the person starts speaking and I get the impression, that's all we can do now. And then I encourage the person to speak and to tell us all the things. And it happened that someone spoke for more than an hour. And then afterwards she said, thank you for listening to me. I have the impression that for the first time in my life, I had been listened to really by you and by the group. And I'm very grateful. So as a facilitator or a constellator friend, however you want to say it, you always have to be very clear about what you can do and what you should not do, right? And if I in the middle of a constellation I can see that the client is not feeling well, then I always make a contact with the client. I go, sometimes I need to touch the client, say, hey, where are you? Are you doing okay? Is it okay? Should we make a break? Should we interrupt? Should we probably postpone? Or should we go on? So it's like, it's not me who decides, it's the client again and again. So when I again and again get myself feedback if it's still okay, because for me, the client is also an adult person and he or she can make decisions. I'm not the one who needs to make decisions for the client. The client needs to make his decisions. That's something I say in the beginning of the workshop always. I say, I will not solve your problems. I'm not your caretaker. We will open the door together, and if you go through or not, if you pass it or not, that's not my job. Right?
I saw you working a lot, and you're so careful and like taking it step by step, and it feels very, very safe.
I think it's my job to make it safe. And I completely understand that people are sometimes afraid to look at their deepest fears and their deepest pains. And I can only say, I did this myself. And there's nothing I offer I have not passed through myself. Of course, there are destinies which are much, much harder than mine. Yeah, of course. But given my own work on myself, I can understand and sympathize with a lot of different feelings and happenings.
And you can also work constellations like individual,
yes,
in one-to-one therapeutic process.
Yes, there is a few possibilities. Number one is you work with little puppets. You know Playmo. I have kids. I stole Playmo from them, and they didn't need it anymore. And I have all kinds of other little figures. And then the person can set up on a field, can set up the different person from constellation. Like this is Mama and this is me. And then what we do then is like I ask the person, okay, please touch Mama and close your eyes and see what comes up. And it's amazing because in that moment the person can really relate to Mama and express what Mama is doing, feeling, saying. And then so we work with this, or we can work with ground anchors. That means we have a few pieces of paper with a circle, and I write in it Mama or Daddy or whatever, and she puts it or he puts it on the ground, and then we'll look at it for a moment. How do you feel when you look at your family like this on the ground? And then, would you like to stand on Mama's place? Yeah. And so we do the same. We can also change the places up to the moment when she says, "Oh, this feels very nice and very comfortable." That's two very nice ways how to do. And you can also work like in imagination. Yeah. So you say, for example, when you imagine your mom, how is she looking at you? Oh, she's looking angry. Okay. And how are you looking at her? I'm looking angry at her too. So you can work with this too, And during the Corona time, I also did some experiments with online constellations. I was very skeptical, to be honest. I'm a very analog person. I'm happy that I can work my smartphone. But I need to say that it also worked. Yeah, working with puppets and having a camera looking to the puppets, and I was moving for the client and stuff, and the client was touching the puppets on the screen. Or meanwhile, we have a few nice softwares where we have like a field, and the client can put figures on it and can move them and touch them, and that's also a nice way of working. But I prefer the direct contact.
And I remember you also said if you have something like a very tough issue or a trauma, it would be better to work in a group because you have the energy of the group better than with the puppets. And
absolutely.
And so.
Yeah. And, especially with traumatic imprints, for that, I need to have the direct contact to be really able to feel what's going on and to be able to relate to that. If someone is sitting 2,000 kilometers away, for me, that's a little difficult. Maybe there are people who can do that, but it's a little difficult for me.
What are the most of the topics you had in your constellations? Like you said, war, love, more like, is it different? In Romania, we had a lot of abortions during communism. And I was thinking a little bit about this. specific topics related to different.
I think basically it's all relationship issues. Everything, with parents, with grandparents, with children, with partners, of course, with bosses or acquaintances, or in last consequence, it's all about relationship. And why does my relationship not work the way I think it should work? Right?
And how can you choose like the right facilitator if you want to try this for the first time and you don't know? People ask me this, but how do I know where to go? Because there are a lot of them and we don't know for sure if it's good or not good.
Well, what you could do is you could always go like an observer.
Right.
Like a participating observer, which means you don't have your constellation yourself, but you can be asked to represent, but you can always refuse. That's a nice thing. You're not forced to stand in. You can say, no, thank you. I cannot do this now. You don't even need to explain it, and then you can see if the facilitator knows what he or she is doing, or if it's just, I don't know, a fraud.
Yeah, I understand. Constellations are closely associated with Bert Hellinger, and I know you participated in some of the constellations, and I was wondering what was the experience for you.
I think Bert has done really a lot because he was the one who put all the different impulses together, because family constellation is a result of a lot of different roots. I mean, there is the shamanic root, if someone fell ill, the shaman started to beat the drum or was working with herbs or stuff and went back into the past of this person to see which ancestor has been offended and try to calm down the ancestor so the patient could be healthy again. There is a systemic work by sorry, I forgot the name, which works a little more with family sculptures, which is a way of showing a certain system without moving. And I experience him as very helpful, but the way he worked was absolutely not my style. I experienced him as a little, well, let's put it that way. In the end of his work, I had the impression that he thought he is the only one who knows. And everybody else needs to more or less follow what he thinks. And that's not how I'm wired, right? So I really learned good things from him, but there was a point, that was also the point when the German Association for Constellation separated from Bert. And because there were a lot of people who said, no, we cannot do this any longer.
I understand. Up to which generation have you worked with within group systemic constellation?
10.
10. Oh my God.
I once had a lady in the US. She came and she was sitting on the chair and she said, I'm cursed.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't believe in curses, but I know a lot of people in Romania do. And I said, okay, what do you mean? And she said, well, my mom was a witch. My grandma was a witch. My great-grandma was crazy. I'm cursed. Okay. So I said, let's look at the situation. I didn't ask for more information. So I had mom, grandma, great-grandma. They were really like à côté de la plaque, like the French person says, And then I added one more. The 10th generation was a very soft and friendly and motherly person. First, the 9 generations afterwards, they were completely crazy. So the only thing I could do was to put the client in contact with this person in the 10th generation and say, there is your reservoir of energy. There you need to reconnect, because, you know, in a constellation you cannot force something. You cannot just turn it like you want it. If someone is crazy, he is crazy, period. You can only say, okay, that's all I can do. And her being connected to this far, far away ancestor really made a big difference for her. It was really nice.
Wow. If you were to demystify some common beliefs or misconceptions about systemic constellations, which ones would you address?
You cannot change the life you have, right, or the story, the history you have. You can only become friend with the history, and you only can find a different approach. Because we are the ones we are, with the story we have, and we can fight till the rest of our life against the story. It will not do us any good. So we better try to heal it. Yeah? And the other thing is like what I heard oftentimes is like it's something that it's only in your imagination. It's just stupid. It's idiotic. It's not possible. I can only say from my experience, it is possible. It's not idiotic. It's not making people crazy, you know. I keep saying in the introduction on Friday evening, you know, we are not here to create schizophrenics, right? You will make some amazing experience this weekend, and when you go home on Sunday evening, you will be the one you are. That's it. Right. And let's put it that way. If you have a facilitator who really, who has integrity and who knows his limits, then that's a good choice. If people don't know their limits, or if they think they know much better than you, you know, I know a facilitator who would never accept that someone comes to the chair. He goes like, I can see you need to have the work. Come over. Not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I understand.
You know.
Makes sense. In September, you're organizing a new training program in systemic constellations. Who can enroll in this program, and what are the requirements to become a facilitator?
Okay. So there's 2 types of people who come to a constellation training. One is professionals, therapists, psychotherapists, social worker, theologists, stuff like this. They want to learn it for their own practice, to work with clients, right? And there's a second type of people who say, well, I would really love to have like a 2-year ongoing group. Yeah. I will learn something, and we also do a lot of constellations. My trainings are organized the way that you start, I think even on the second module, you start to do small 10-minute constellation in small groups, because I want you to get practice. You know, I can tell you a lot, but practice is necessary. Practice and feedback. The requirements are, if you really want to work with it, then you need to look what are the lawful requirements in this country. What do you need to bring? And if you want to have like an certificate, yeah. Of course, if you do the whole training, and part of the training is you give a talk about a training-oriented subject, and in the end you write a little essay, like 10 pages, about, it can be on the same subject, it can be on something else, and you need to go to peer group work. Yeah, that's small group work where you do little projects. Then you will get a certification. And for the moment, that might change, but for the moment, you can apply when you have, like, for example, a certificate as a psychologist as well. You can apply at the German Association to become, to be acknowledged by them. But in brackets, we're also starting the project to have like a Romanian association for systemic constellation facilitators, which I think is a very good thing to do, because then we can really offer good trainings. We can set standards for people, and if this association will have a web page, and there are therapists on it, the people who choose these therapists, excuse me, know that they are well trained, you know. And I will be more a counselor to this project because it has to be done by Romanian people.
Sounds amazing. I'm ready to join.
Great. We need a lot of people who help and who know about the law and all of that.
I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Do you still have time to make your own constellations from time to time? Because you do a lot of constellations for other people, and I was wondering if you still do this for yourself, if you have the time.
Well, I think a lot of the constellations I do are also my own constellations. And yes, from time to time, I mean, like 2 years ago, I think, I did a very moving constellation for myself that was very profound, that was very nice. But also, I gained, meanwhile, the possibility to do constellations for myself without cheating myself, because there's always a big probability that our mind cheats us.
You do your own constellations?
Yeah. But, you know, I'm 70 now. I'm since 40 years in this area. I've done countless trainings and a lot of self-experience. And the last couple of years, I worked with an 80 years old Jungian therapist for myself. And it seems as if I come to a certain ground, a certain basement now, which I have no longer so pressing issues like that.
I remember you told us in one of the trainings some tricks to how to grow your intuition, and I wanted to ask you to share with other people as well, how we can be more present and more like trust our intuition.
Well, I'm sure you know this little feelings when you get up in the morning and you think, oh, today I shouldn't drink a coffee. But then you go, I drink coffee every day. So you drink the coffee, and half in the morning you get a stomach burn, like a heartache.
Stomachache.
Or you have this little voice saying, oh, you should not take this road, you should take the other one. And you go, and you take the road you always take, and you run into an accident. So we have intuition, but we have stopped to believe our inner voice. Or you go into a pub, into a club, and you see this guy, and you go like, oh, he really looks great. But, you know, he's a bad finger. And you don't listen. Yeah. A month later, you go like, oh, I should have listened to myself. So we have very fine antennas. We just stop believing those antennas. Yeah. And I think everybody can start with listening more. And for example, also not taking a little moment before you answer to something. Like, well, I have to take a breath and just feel what's going inside and not what's here. Yeah, because this might go like, yeah. And this goes like, yes.
I saw you taking moments while answering the questions, and I thought it's really cool and courageous, because we are tempted to answer quickly, not to leave people wait or maybe stressed somehow. And it's really good advice.
I think it's very important to give yourself enough time. I mean, there are situations where you don't have time. You know, when you drive in a car and someone hits a brake in front of you, you don't have time to think, oh, did he hit the brake? Boof. No, you hit the brake yourself, of course. But there's a lot of moments when you can really go like, wait a minute, what is really going on?
And to be more connected, like brains with heart, like to
Exactly.
follow this important connection that we usually forget about.
And there's amazing research, meanwhile. They say that the heart has its own brain, which means the heart, it's not the brain influences the heart, but the heart influences the brain. So the heart knows much easier and much faster what's going on and what's good and what's not good than the brain does. Because the brain is actually like a calculating machine, you know, like zero and ones, you know. And the heart is the one who has the ability to really embrace life, and to also to create new things.
Also, the brain can cheat you sometimes.
Absolutely.
Because the mind likes to be in comfort, like comfortable, and
yeah. And I don't dislike my brain. Without my brain, I would not be able to talk to you. No, but it's the boss is here, and that's just a servant, like that.
How do you charge your batteries? We've talked about a lot of things and hard stories, like traumatic stories. What's important for your heart?
Well, my marriage. And if I have time, I like to be in the garden and do gardening. I have my little workshop in the basement where I do pottery. I love music. I play a little guitar, a little accordion, a few things. I don't have a lot of time for that, to be honest. And the thing that recharges my batteries the most is if I work with clay.
Art therapy.
Yes. Yes.
And that's how you started, right?
That's how I started, yeah.
Therapy.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Is there any question you wanted me to ask you and I didn't? Do you feel
well, maybe one more thing, like sometimes people ask me if I'm not bored, because it's always the same story: mommy, daddy, grandma, grandpa, violence in the family, abortions, and until now I never needed to say I am bored, because for me every human being is so unique and so prizing, and so special, that even if I heard the same story for a long time, or oftentimes, it's completely new. Every time it's completely new. And that's also why I oftentimes do not remember constellations, because when a constellation has found an end, it's a little bit as if like a chapter is closed. Yeah? And it's just my way of participating in this world.
You really love what you do, and
I do.
You do it with all your heart.
Yes.
Yeah. I can only confirm, because I did some constellations as a client with you, and also in trainings, and I really appreciated your work and the way you work with the kindness and like really caring, and with some humor sometimes, which I do appreciate a lot, because sometimes it gets really heavy to talk about your problems, and well, it's not easy to be right in front of all these people looking at you while confessing your most inner, sensitive things and stories. So congratulations for everything you did and you do. It's been an honor to have you here today. I really enjoyed working with you and knowing you and talking to you today. Thank you for everything.
Thank you very much for giving me the chance to talk about all these things. And humor is a very important thing. You know, there's a German philosopher who said, if you have stopped laughing at yourself, you're lost anyway. When, it's like, yes, there are difficult things, but take them with a grain of humor.
That's perfect end for the podcast. Thank you very much, Claus.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bună și bine ați venit la podcastul Prima Dată. Sunt Raluca Hagiu și sunt jurnalist, iar astăzi am lângă mine un invitat... Da, e ok. 3 hours later. I'll do it just one more time. Bună și bine ați venit la podcastul Prima Dată. Sunt Raluca Hagiu și sunt jurnalist, iar astăzi am lângă mine un special invitat. Da, posibil să rămânem cu prima, mai încerc totuși. Bună și bine ați venit la podcastul Prima Dată. Sunt Raluca Hagiu și sunt jurnalist, iar astăzi am lângă mine un invitat foarte special care vine din Germania și care are 40 de ani de experiență ca psihoterapeut. Este de asemenea formator și facilitator în Constelații Sistemice și din 2019